पालय माम् अम्बादेवी सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् अम्बादेवी सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् वीणापाणिनि सरस्वती वीणापाणिनि सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् वीणापाणिनि सरस्वती वीणापाणिनि सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् हंसवाहिनी सरस्वती हंसवाहिनी सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् दुर्गादेवी सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् देवी सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् वीणापाणिनि सरस्वती वीणापाणिनि सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् हंसवाहिनी सरस्वती हंसवाहिनी सरस्वती आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् आनन्दरूपिणि पालय माम् It is not the best. It's okay.
Om Namah Shivaya, thank you for this wonderful chant. And we're very grateful to have Swamini Svatmavidyananda here with us. So let's welcome her warmly.
I have a question that has to do with mental health and the concept of disassociation. Yeah,
Dissociation.
yeah. So people disassociate theoretically when they have terrible traumas and they rise above the trauma and they're sort of watching it, so they're not literally experiencing it. So I'm wondering if there's any I know if there's any connection between that and the whole concept of being unattached, and if maybe being unattached, in the cosmic reasons, was for all of us to be able to transcend these traumas in life.
Yeah, excellent question. Wonderful question. Like you say, this sense of dissociation is from the pain, because of the pain. And what Vedanta says about transcendence, it sounds similar, like, you transcend that, the difficulty, you transcend that, you transcend the whole Jagat, the whole universe basically. I try not to use the word unattached because one is never attached to speak of it. And so, more in the sense of uninvolved with what is going on. And there could be, there is a real possibility for the vision of Vedanta to kind of dovetail with this problem or difficulty called dissociation. The possibility is definitely there, and it's like some other things that we hear in the tradition also, like, for example, grow into a compassionate being, be accommodative. And if one's persona has been to accommodate all the time, in a way, be accommodating all the time, and then here, this is what Vedanta says, grow into compassion, grow in accommodation. So in some ways, one could be actually rehearsing those chronic patterns. You see what I'm saying? Under the guise of the vision of oneness and transcendence, and under the guise of being a loving, compassionate person. You see what I'm saying? So there could be that. So, but it's not the same. It is not the same because what Vedanta talks about and what we see in the lives of saints that are celebrated all over as those who are jnanis, who know this knowledge, we don't see them aloof. We don't see them not participating. We don't see them in a place of disconnection. We see them, and this is what attracts us to the saints. We see them being loving, we see them interacting, we see them participating in life. We don't see them shunning away from life. But they have cultivated through the dint of this knowledge and their sadhana, they have cultivated that inner space to know that even when they are involved in something, they are not affected. It's like crying or laughing in a play. So the character who cries in the play may be actually feeling very happy and thinking, oh, maybe I'll get an award, I'm crying without the need for glycerin. There's that inner space. And at the end of the day, the person knows, I can take off this costume, go home somewhere. And maybe the actor in a movie or in a play lives somewhere in a rich mansion and knows that I can throw away these clothes and I can just go and be. And so that inner space is there for the person who understands this knowledge, so that one as though participates, one without doing does, and one as though enjoys, one as though laughs, one as though cries, while being completely abiding in that glory of the self as free of all pain and sorrow. So the word as though is important. There are stories from Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's life where he was sitting quietly. Sometimes for long periods of times he would just sit, and all the people would sit with him, and he would sometimes laugh, sometimes talk, but many times he was silently sitting. And he got the news that one of his devotees, she had delivered a child, and she was expecting, and they knew she had been taken to the hospital and she had delivered a baby. And so it is said that Ramana Maharshi, he was sitting quietly on his bed, and he just jumped out of bed, did a little dance, clapped his hands, laughed, sat down. And then half an hour later, a very sad news came that the either, I forgot whether it was the baby or the woman had perished due to too much bleeding or something. The woman died. And then he became very serious. His face became very serious, and one tear rolled from one of his eyes down his cheeks. And then he was all right again. So it's not that, when you see the lives of these kinds of exalted saints, it's not that they do not participate in life. It's not that they are somehow stoic, unable to enjoy, unable to cry. That is not the point. The point is either your own feelings or the feelings of others around you do not overwhelm you. That is the idea. They do not take you away. They do not hijack you. That is the idea. And so therefore, if there is dissociation, that has to be addressed first. Because this knowledge of transcendence is already there. It is something that can be easily plugged into. But this little bump has to be taken care of. Otherwise, one will confuse this for that. And there is enough of at least from the standpoint of experiencing it, it feels like it might be the same. It's not the same, because there is no sense of going away. It is an as though going away. There is no sense of departing from the situation or from oneself.
There was a story I read once that there was a Buddhist monk who was being tortured in Tibet. And while he was being tortured, because he was so evolved, he was able to have compassion for his torture.
Yeah, exactly.
Pranam Swaminiji. This morning you talked about Shodashi, and all I knew about it was like in North India, there's 13th day when the sadhus are invited, gifts are given. It's a feast. So I connected it that way. But when you talked about it, it was beautiful. And could you please elaborate on it a little bit more so I'm more knowledgeable about it?
Yeah. Let's see what I can add to it. The complete person is said to be 16, is said to have 16 aspects. And those aspects, everybody, all beings, mortals, have 15, and that last one is the 16th aspect. Bhagavan alone has all 16. That is the idea. Bhagavan and the person of self-knowledge. that is the person who is, complete. So perhaps the 16th one is all knowledge. That's what it is. That losing of the ignorance. Oh, since this, see, the part of the ritual of sannyasa involves doing what is called Atmashraddha. Atmashraddha means you do your own funerary rituals. You have already done that while alive. For two reasons. One is because you are taking a new birth and you're not going to deal with the past in the same dysfunctional ways. And then the second reason is so that, you're not a householder. You're not going to have daughters or sons who will do it for you after you pass away. So you do it for yourself before you take sannyasa. So then for a sadhu, there is no funeral at all. Nothing is expected. But since one has joined that 16th, there is a celebration of the life as a knowledgeable person. And so that celebration is done by inviting 16 sadhus for 16 days, or on the 16th day, giving a feast and giving each sadhu, each holy person who is invited, gets 16 presents. And so that is how it is done. And so the 16 has an abiding presence. You see, when Lord Dakshinamurti, there is, there is a nice wall mural. We should ask our blessed tour guide, where is the wall mural of Lord Dakshinamurti? Yeah, near the temple. So if you go to near the main temple, so if you go near the main temple, you will see what Lord Dakshinamurti looks like. He is said to be 16. He is said to be 16 years old. And then in Kanyakumari, in the southernmost tip of India, we have a goddess temple where she incarnated herself, the story goes, in order to rid the world of some demonic forces. And she too is 16. So this 16 is a very holy number because it talks about that completion, that sense of limitlessness. That is what it is.
Just a follow up on that, Amma. So, on, right? Yeah. And for sadhus, we do 16 days, but for normal people, they do 13 days.
Yeah.
But we said that everyone has 15. So
Yeah.
does that mean the pancha pranas, pancha gyanendriyas?
Yeah, so
and all
it
that?
is reckoned in different ways. There are certain aspects which we don't even know the names of and how they translate.
Okay.
Yeah. For normal people, we say 13th day because it is believed in the Dharma Shastra that the disembodied jiva hangs around because one is so involved in that life. They want to make sure that the spouse is still crying. They want to make sure that the will is being honored. So the belief is, this is just a non-verifiable belief. This is what people in India believe, that there are 12 days that the jiva hangs around. Before, could hang around. Not that every jiva hangs around. It could hang around for 12 days. Because death is a drastic change. It's like you're enjoying a wonderful vacation, and then you find that you are locked out of your hotel room. You can't get in there, and you can't just go to the reception and get a spare key. Imagine that possibility is not there, or there is nobody at the reception. Or better yet, you go to the reception and say, my keys, I have lost my keys. And after a while, you realize they can neither see you nor hear you, nor interact with you. So, what is the hotel room? The body that you have left behind. Yeah, you got locked out of this body that you loved. This was your home for so long, so many years. Knee pain doesn't matter, something I will rub, some arnica, and and then what else? Coughing, lung problems, kidney problems, this problem, that problem. Still, there was so much love for this body. Kept on going thanks to medical interventions of all kinds. And then finally, Lord Yama says, come on, it's time, let's go. And of course, nobody goes willingly. And then one is yanked out of the body, and then afterwards you try to get in through every orifice. Nothing, locked out. The combination has been changed. You can't get in. So it's a very drastic departure, so to speak. And then, of course, the body is either interred or put on the flames. It's disposed of very quickly, and so therefore there is no possibility of returning. So sometimes the jiva that is in shock, and this is true, especially they say of sudden forms of demise, such as car accidents or some traumatic, or a person dying young. And so the jiva could hang around for these 12 days. And then, so therefore, the 13th day, you bid it goodbye. You invoke that person into the priests that are invited. 11 or 12 priests are invited just to eat all the food that this person loved. So you make a farewell feast and say, please go on your journey, take some of my karma with you, don't get stuck anywhere. This is no longer a place for you. You don't anymore have a body. This is a boring place. Nobody can see you, hear you, interact with you. Please keep going on this journey. So that is the bidding goodbye on the 13th day. That's a very different thing than the 16th day celebration, because we are not worried about the sadhu hanging around, especially if the person is a person of self-knowledge.
Swamiji, I've bared witness to many people in the transitional period. Can you explain to me the difference between people who transition and are okay with it and people who are not okay with it? Is that simply karma, or is it more involved than that? And I've seen it in 7-year-olds and I've seen it in 90-year-olds. 7-year-olds totally okay and 90-year-olds totally not, and vice versa.
Yes. It doesn't have to do with age, you are correct. Being not okay with it means, to me, it would mean that there is a sense of fear, insecurity, discontent, and then that which we call death appears as final, and that is very scary. So that is how, sometimes people are not okay with it, even though they are told, for example, okay, you have, somebody is told that they have terminal end stage, some disease, cancer or anything like that. Still sometimes the person feels like they have to fight, they have to try to overcome it. And it is partly karmic, but also partly that, there is some not being able to accept, because they are in a place of non-acceptance, as you said. That is because of the insecurity and fear of endings. Endings are hard for most people. We don't like endings. Wait till the mic, because then the online people can also hear what you're saying.
I was just interested about this thing about the 12 days and the jiva not leaving for 12 days, which makes absolute sense to me. But where should the body be for those 12 days?
The body is disposed of.
Oh, the body can be disposed of, but
Absolutely.
but then the jiva doesn't leave for 12 days.
Sometimes the jiva hangs around.
Oh, I see. I thought the body had to stay and
Oh,
not be
no.
disposed
Because the
of. Okay.
body, there is no possibility of entering. It's like a room which is locked up, cannot enter. So
Nice.
the body is disposed of as fast as possible. In fact, in the West, I think they keep it for longer because sometimes, everything has to happen in the weekend in the West because people are very busy. Yeah. So marriage in the weekend, and the person may die on Monday, but then you have to wait till the weekend for the funeral. So,
Since I have the microphone, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay. 3 or so years ago, I almost died from a very serious brain aneurysm.
oh,
And
that's terrible.
it took a long time to get through it, and I got through it 100%. But this is my question. It's a small question, and then it's a bigger question. I have 3 grown children. And when I heard that this had happened to me, my daughter flew out immediately from San Francisco. My son was there. They were all there for me 1,000%. And I know that my children love me, and I know that I was a good mother. But when I'm well, I feel like they're keeping me at hands.
They're keeping you at bay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I feel like, but I think that's partly karma, but I think sometimes you feel you're attached. I think I'm attached to the idea that I have so much to share.
Yeah.
And you're keeping me like that.
Yeah.
So how would you interpret that?
You yourself answered the question. You yourself answered your own question. First, you are absolutely correct. There is no dearth of love. They love you to pieces. Yes, they were very concerned. They were ready to do whatever was needed to help you, and they did. And they came there, and you are very blessed. They are wonderful children. You are very blessed with wonderful offspring. At the same time, having said this, they have their own karmic trajectory and the things they want to learn and the mistakes they want to make. Mistakes from the standpoint of the parents, okay? Yeah, so they don't consider it mistakes. They consider it living their lives. And so they want to find out, even if it's a mistake, they want to find out by themselves. Just like a 2-year-old. If the mother says, don't do this, you're going to fall. The 2-year-old is in the stage of rebellion. No, I am going to do this. I know, I'm going to do this. I won't fall. And then the child will fall. But it's important for the child to experience that. And so even with grown offspring, it's the same thing. In the sense that they have their own life. They want to learn their own things. And thirdly, I would also say that very rarely do offspring want to learn from the parents, no matter how much they may have to share. Very difficult. Yeah. And what you say may be a valid point. You may indeed have a lot to share, and that's wonderful. Write a book and dedicate it to them. Or, write a book. They will love it. That they will read, Or, if you can't wait to write a book, start a blog. Yeah. Start a blog. Because there is not so much pressure to write a book and all these things. Whatever you have to share, you put down. A few people will read it. They may be inspired. Start a blog. And put your thoughts down, put your impressions down, put whatever you want to give to humanity down. Because, you see, at when we get to a certain age, everybody is like our children in a certain, everybody younger. So you be the mother for more than just your children and help in that way. Yeah.
So I want to ask you if in your culture or in the discussions or practice, if anything's ever been talked about aliens and communication with aliens.
Aliens we are not bothered about because they are also jivas.
Okay.
If they are there, they are also jivas.
Mhm.
They have a different set of karmas to be born in a different planet. And guess what? They think of us as aliens.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah. No, they might think, if they come, if anybody ever comes to earth, they might think, oh my God, what's wrong with these people? Look at how they're living. One planet they have, they are polluting her every day, and they are eating and drinking unmindfully. They have no sense whatsoever. This short life they have, they spend most of the time fighting with one another. And no matter what you give them, they are not contented. No matter what they have, they want more. They must be thinking these people are bonkers. Yeah.
Thank you.
My father has seemed to skirt death about 5 times, and my mother is always joking he's like a cat with 9 lives. And most of them, he started as a child, he had polio, and they told him that he probably wouldn't live through it or would not be able to walk again at the age of 7, and for 3 years he lived in a hospital. And he came out and taught himself to walk and taught himself to study the whole time with books and things and reading. And then he got into a terrible car accident and a bad snowstorm, and a Mack truck, a big huge 18-wheeler truck, drove over him, and it happened to be the seat just fell back and missed every part of him, and he came out alive. They thought he was dead. He had another car accident where deer jumped in front of him, and he crashed into a tree. The whole entire car was destroyed, and he came out unscathed. He had cancer in the brain, cancer in the liver, cancer in the colon at stage 4, didn't know he had it, and found out because he had a little cut on his hand and went to the doctor, and he said, this isn't right. We have to do tests. He said, prepare to die in 6 months, and he's still alive. So this keeps happening, and my mother, she really jokes with him, he's like a cat. And there's no understanding of it necessarily. With the 2 were accidents, and 2, it seemed that his mental mind superseded these diseases, because he said, when he had cancer at 75, he said, oh no, I don't accept it. And he did chemo and he did everything that he was, but he said, I'm not going to die. And he didn't. And now he's cancer free. And they don't know how it went away in his brain, though I believe he meditated and did things that were part of the practices. But he's doesn't necessarily follow any religion or Vedanta or any kind. He's a man of science. So I was wondering if you have anything to say about a person like that, or an understanding that you could share for me to understand him better.
He's an incredibly lucky person.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say. I said, you have luck on your side.
Luck, is the name for Bhagavan. That's why Goddess Lakshmi's name starts with luck. Okay? Yeah. She who gives luck Lakshmi, and she is the goddess of abundance, and he is very blessed. It's all karma. Some karma he had to go through, but then he came out of the other end repeatedly. And plus, I think what you said, a little bit of his personality also comes in. He seems to be a very determined
He is very
person,
determined.
and so that has held him in good stead.
Yeah,
We pray for his long life and good
Thank
health.
you. Thank you so much.
Here.
So I have two questions. The first is about number 16. Does this have anything to do with having in numerology, anyone who has a life path 7 will have a karmic debt of 16, and that has to do with overcoming the ego? I'm curious because there seems to be a connection there, and I would love if you could illuminate further.
Yeah, it's very possible, definitely. So, 7, I think, is the number for Ketu, if I'm not mistaken. And Ketu is a shadow planet in numerology, astrology, in Hindu astrology. And that is Moksha Karaka. Ketu brings you close to yourself. And so that in that sense, the path is open for one to do self-inquiry, to commit to a life of knowledge, definitely.
And my second question was about this metaphor you used of the fabric and the shirt.
Yes.
And I believe you said that the cause was the fabric and that the effect was the shirt?
Yeah, the interim cause, the immediate cause of the shirt is fabric. So the fabric becomes cause. From the standpoint of the shirt, fabric is cause.
But yeah, I was going to say, because in my head I see it as both ways, and wouldn't shirt be the cause and fabric the effect?
How?
Well, because the shirt has to exist first as an idea, and then once you create the shirt, you need the fabric.
Yeah, shirt can exist as an idea, or maybe the shirt doesn't exist as an idea and the fabric comes, because for the idea to manifest, you need the material, you see.
I see.
Yeah, without the material, the idea just remains an idea.
Okay.
So therefore, the fabric is the cause, shirt is the effect, but that's just an interim understanding, because from the standpoint of the yarn, whether it's cotton, polyester, yarn becomes the cause.
Okay.
And then fabrics becomes the effect. Then what is the yarn? Yarn resolves into fiber. Fiber becomes the cause. Yarn becomes the effect. The fibers belong to cotton. Cotton becomes the cause. Fibers become the effect. You can go all the way. If you know quantum physics, you can go to molecules and particles and waves. And there, you're in a very interesting position, because you find that you are at a standstill because the observer affects the experiment. That's what they are finding.
Sounds like a little bit like the theory of relativity, and just
Yes.
So I know you mentioned it, and maybe I didn't hear you speak about it, but you talked about the causeless cause.
Yes.
The origin. Are you speaking about Brahman?
Yes. But then it is Brahman to which the causality is as though attributed. The cause is superimposed. You see? Okay. The causality is superimposed on which truth, which is free of being effect and free of being cause. It is not outside of the effect. It is not outside of the cause. And within this empirical reality, it has a cause-effect relationship. The Jagat is the effect, Brahman is the cause. But then the Jagat keeps disappearing and appearing. This world is not the same. It goes in and out of demanifestation, manifestation and demanifestation. So you cannot call Brahman the cause when there is nothing, there is no effect, correct? And so it's that. Therefore, first of all, it's an uncaused cause or a causeless cause. But at the same time, if we are saying Brahman is the cause of the universe, you miss the other definition, which is where that unification with the I, the jiva, takes place. The Brahman is the cause of the universe is one working temporary definition, as long as the universe is in play. When the universe is not there, it goes into a state of demanifestation, let us say. And where is cause? When there is no effect, how can something be the cause? So there is no cause. But Brahman is there as what? As that it is available as that same self-conscious, self-evident conscious being, I. That is where the Mahavakya, the unity operates. That is where that oneness operates.
Thank you.
You mentioned yesterday a woman who lived to 105.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law lived to 106, and she died in 2017 and lived on her own till 104. She had the best posture I've ever seen. Her head was totally stacked on her spine, and she lived in Florida, so she walked at least 2 miles a day, stopped smoking when she was in her 40s, but she was one of the most angry persons I've ever met. So that was a dichotomy for me, because I couldn't understand how an angry person could live so long. But after listening to what you said, the karmic effects.
Yeah. It's just the karma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she lived to see my husband die. She was 94 and he died at 61. So that was quite the witnessing. And she even lived to 106 from that. It was unbelievable. I just wanted to share that. There was nothing else to say about it. Thank you.
This is question from Praveen.
Oh, Praveen's questions.
Okay. Question 1. Can you throw some light on Ramanujacharya's teaching and contrast it with Madhvacharya and Adi Shankara's teachings?
OMG.
Second question also.
Yeah, let's skip that one. Okay. Next.
Vedanta being one, but multiple philosophies that come out of it. Shankhya, Dvaita,
Vishittadvaita.
Vishittadvaita.
That is not the second question, it's part 1A.
Oh.
Yeah.
All these gurus are very accomplished people, then why so many varied views from one text?
That I can address. Yeah. So, because, this is what's the word for it? That is in essence the question. Same text. How can different scholars gain different interpretations from the same text? This is the question. Very nice question. So, to that I would say, first of all, is that in the tradition there is hermeneutic freedom. There is freedom to look at the text and see if there is a plausible interpretation, if there is some way a certain kind of interpretation can hold. And also these are highly exalted gurus. They are not just somebody from, somebody giving their opinion, just coming from the road and giving their opinion. These are really very erudite people. And so that's why they are taken seriously. And in their writings, in their commentaries, they have been able to establish that certain meanings can be gleaned from certain texts. From the same text, you can say that all that is here, like Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, all that is here is Ishvara. This whole universe is pervaded by the Lord. Ishvara is everything. Ishvara pervades the whole universe. And you are also not outside of that Ishvara. From the standpoint of this question of Ishvara, then there are three distinct ways of relating to this Ishvara. The first way is to say, and this is a theologically comfortable position for most people, Ishvara is separate from you. Because look at what Ishvara has created, and look at this whole creation, how beautiful everything is, how infallible everything is. What can you create other than confusion? So you are not Ishvara at all. How can you be Ishvara? Forget it. And it's a very plausible explanation because it's a very comfortable, it's a theologically comfortable position because it goes along with what is seen. Because you look around, you don't see Ishvara, yet the hand of Ishvara is there in many of the stories that people have shared, even in this room. So many stories. And so therefore, the hand is there. We feel there is an unseen force or something like that. And so therefore, certain people say that this Ishvara is different from you. And they will cite certain things from the Upanishads to do that. Then there are people who, see, I'm answering question 1 also. Okay. Yeah. So tell him that. Yeah. So then there is a set of people who say that, well, there is a difference, but there is no difference. There is a difference, and then there is also a oneness along. Sometimes it's different, sometimes it is one. That is called Vishishtadvaita, what is called qualified dualism, where you become an adjective for Ishvara, kind of. And so this is, you can say that these people would posit, these scholars, these theologians, scholars, were philosophers, would posit that this is a, how is that? You are part of Ishvara. That is the second position. Then if people are ready to come to us, what we will say is that there is no difference at all to begin with. If we take it from the standpoint of the example of the wave and the ocean. You just walk on the ocean, you see the wave is distinct from the ocean. It has froth, it has bubbles, and it has a height, and then the ocean, looks a different color, and the wave has a different color. You can very well say that the wave is separate from the ocean, and you would not be wrong. There is a certain truth to it. And then somebody else might say, yeah, but the wave is part of the ocean, and it is of the ocean. It has come from the ocean. It is part of the ocean. And it resolves into the ocean. This is what is called qualified dualism. But for Advaita, what we would say is that the wave is the ocean, and the name and form called the wave is just an iteration of water, and the name and form called ocean is another infinite iteration of water. In the wave you have a finite iteration of water, and in the ocean you have an infinite iteration of water. Same thing. Both are what we call in Sanskrit upadhi. Certain kind, upadhi means a certain name and form, a container. So this is what is the wave, this is what is Advaita. Advaita means we don't see the difference because we look immediately to the makeup of the wave. If the wave is told you are the ocean, and if the wave had a human mind, it would wave away this knowledge. Yeah, it would say, no, no, how can I be the ocean? Ocean is God. At best, I'm odd. Ocean is all. I am small. Ocean is the cause. I'm just because. One can say that. The wave might say that if it had a human mind. The wave would definitely say that. But that difference is an apparent difference. Because then, if we were to ask the wave, what are you made up of? It would have to say, I'm made up of water. If you want to touch the ocean, you just go touch the wave. You have as well touched the ocean. You don't have to go in the middle of the ocean and pat the water. If you touch the wave, you touch the ocean. And what is the ocean? The truth of the ocean is also water. So that is what we say is the relationship between Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva is like a wave, a small wave, big wave, angry wave, jealous wave, all these different waves. And Ishvara, ocean. The underlying unity between the two is that both are Brahman. And that is what is the water. The water here stands for Brahman, Satchidananda, that which is existent, that which is self-evident, that which is all knowledge, self-evident, and that which is limitless. This is what the I is. This is what Ishvara is. So Ishvara-ness or Ishvara-hood is literally a cloak put on this Brahman by the seamstress called Maya Shakti. She sews a nice cloak for Brahman to wear. And then Jiva hood is again a miserable cloak that is made up of self-ignorance, which the Jiva dons and says, I cannot see anything, I don't like myself, and that is what it is. This is how the Mahavakya operates. Now, having said this, if you ask the Dvaitin, the person who says Ishvara is separate from me, if you ask them what is the ultimate goal of the human being, they will say to be one with this Ishvara. When? After death. After death, I will go to a place called heaven where Ishvara is, and I will be one with Ishvara. If I have done enough good things in life and all these things, and if the mercy of and the grace of Ishvara is there, I will go there and be one with Ishvara. If you ask the qualified dualist, what is the goal of life? They also say to merge with Ishvara. Because from both those standpoints, it is a standpoint of longing. It's from a standpoint of yearning. Here too, we also address that same longing and yearning. But what we say is that it is a given, you are not at all separate from Ishvara. Like the pot is never separate away from clay. You are never away from Ishvara. And this is something you have to discover. You don't have to wait till you die to understand this. That is why it is called Jivan Mukti. While alive, you understand this. So these are the positions. So we have the freedom to look at it in a certain way. But then if you look at the end point, where is this leading to? Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants the same thing. But the Dvaitin and the Vishishtadvaitin, the person who says, the Dvaitin means the person who says, God is different from me, I am different. That one, and the one who says, I am part of God, they are looking at their immediate empirical reality. And it is valid because you can say, no problem. You can say you are part of the whole universe, you are part of God. You can say that. So, whereas the Vedantin is looking at the immediate reality of oneself as when you reduce the I to its essential whatever, what can you say about the I am. So then when you say I am, you're not referring to the body, you're not referring to the mind, you're not referring to the senses, but to that indweller which is abiding, as it were, existing within this body, mind, sense complex. So that I is equated to the one that is the cause of the universe. The cause is an as though superimposition upon that Brahman which is free of causality. The effect is also a superimposition upon that Brahman which is free of taking on any effect. Neither cause nor effect. Because it is limitless, it can masquerade as the cause and be present as the effect without becoming either cause or effect. Nobody ran away, so I hope it made sense. Yeah.
I have a question on even people are in this path, they have to overcome samskaras, vasanas, but sometimes they don't. How do you get over, what one needs to do all the time so that you'll go over the vasanas?
There is an argument that says that in order to do this, in order to be on a spiritual path, vasana kshaya, meaning you should exhaust all the vasanas. All vasanas means like, what can we say, strong impressions and based on certain desires from the past, etc. All that has to be exhausted. But this is not possible, and neither is it necessary. It is not possible because think of how many desires are there. Think of how many impressions are there. That is, you get exhausted after dealing with these inexhaustible impressions. So, there is, when you start studying, when you start committing to this path, then things automatically drop, effortlessly drop. Because this is, you spend the time studying, thinking about deeper questions in life, and the mind, the heart becomes more what is called sattvic, purified, to enjoy these kinds of inquiry, this these kinds of immersion. And so naturally the things that one was addicted to earlier, addicted to various things, whether it is, wanting a certain thing, or wanting a certain thing to be a certain way, wanting a person in one's life to be a certain way, all these kinds of addictions, naturally they drop. And many times people tell me that they are in a very strange predicament. They say, before I started to study with you, people come and say, I was happy going to the movies, going to the mall. And now, and then it's just, hanging out with my friends, going for potlucks. I was just doing all that. And not that I was happy doing that. Sometimes I would wonder, is this all that life is about? What more is there? And then I found this knowledge. Then I started to take all the classes. And now I'm in a strange predicament. What is that predicament? The movies, malls, balls no longer attract me. Oh, but that's good. Well, wait till you hear the whole sentence. Neither does Vedanta attract me that much. I'm in betwixt and between. I'm neither here nor there. And it's all your fault. One person told me this. Until I started to study with you, I was all right. I had my little life. I had my little preoccupations, my hobbies, my pet peeves. And then now all that has dropped as promised. But then I have not been able to catch hold of this fully. And so I'm kind of in between. It happens. This is what is called a transition period. It looks scary, but it need not be. One perseveres. And then, that's why we have what is called satsang. The word satsang means studying together. So it's not that it's scary to say, you have to drop all friends. Already Vedanta is not that popular. And it was not that popular even in Adi Shankara's time. And if you tell people the first day they arrive at the ashram, you have to drop your desires, you have to drop your friends, and they themselves will drop out as soon as you say that. So therefore, it is not about dropping. It's not about letting go in that sense. You make new friends who are of the same wavelength. You can enjoy being with them because they are on the same path as you are. You discover together, you support one another. Things don't change that much. What gets dropped is the dysfunctionality. And when that dysfunctional ways and the old orientations, the habitual orientations taking over and the dysfunctional ways of being, they go away, then there is space to breathe. There is space to discover yourself in new and exciting ways. That is what I would say about vasanakshaya. You don't have to wait till every desire drops. Let it drop. It's okay. Let it drop slowly. What's the rush? As long as one is not derailed from this, then this is a good thing.
Swaminiji, sometimes it seems like people in the spiritual path really want to reach, to be in a place that maybe they are not yet there. And so many times they will not deal with their feelings or emotions because, I'm not attached. I'm one with the all. And so I'm just wondering what's the best way how to help in when that happens.
We help ourselves. Yeah. We don't know what they are feeling or what they are thinking. We cannot understand that. And if they ask for help, we can perhaps tell them to be honest with themselves. And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes that's not possible because there is so much, maybe people have gone through a lot of trauma, oppression, where one is used to leading a kind of a life where one is not in touch with what is. So it's a process. But what we can do is, looking at that, we can help ourselves to be authentic, in an authentic place at every given time. And that calls for devotion. That calls for minting oneself as a devotee, as a bhakta. Because each time one confronts one's limitations, especially on the spiritual path, it's painful. Oh, I thought I had overcome this. I still have this. After so many years of study, I still have this. So we learn to accept that this is how it is right now. I'm not there yet. I'm here right now. Yes, I could have done better in this particular situation. Perhaps I could have edited myself. Perhaps I need not have said this. Or perhaps I could have said this differently. This is actually good because this kind of introspection, it makes one understand that one is doing it in a healthy way without targeting others or without blaming oneself. You're able to objectively see, okay, I'm not here yet. At this point, I should not be feeling anger, but the anger is being felt. What to do? But thank God I'm not exploding with it. So I give myself a point. I'm able to just stay and not explode. And then later on, I give myself one more point for working with the anger. Whatever it takes, writing it out, screaming it out, and processing it so many ways. And the next time one finds that there is a baby growth. There is some way in which one is in a different place than before. Slowly. Because the orientations take so long, the samskaras are deep rooted for so many lifetimes sometimes. We cannot expect to get rid of them in a trice. And so we are patient, we are humble, and we just work with what there is, and we learn to become devotees at this time. And that's why the mantra Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, very powerful mantra, extremely powerful. Because usually the mantras end in Namaha, salutations unto you, surrender unto you. But here, Hare means take away. So you are ordering Bhagavan, take away. Take away, Hare Rama, Hare, take away. And take away what? Take away any kind of a double existence in me. Take away this inner duality. Take away all the reasons because of which I feel pressured to behave like somebody else that I'm not. Take away those pressures. Take away the insecurity and fears that makes me put on a persona in order to greet the world where I cannot be myself. Take away the pains and sorrows that have made me build this other, and the fear that has made me build this other persona just in order to survive and in order to be in the world. At one point, oh Goddess, oh Lord, I needed this because I was defenseless, I was helpless, and I needed something to be able to survive. Now, with your help, with your grace, I'm ready to let this go. Give me the opportunity to let this go, take this away, and then give me the courage to face that transitory emptiness that may ensue before I get comfortable in my own shoes, before I get comfortable feeling empowered, being in my own glory and power. This is how we pray. It's a process.
So sometimes I interact with folks who have psychological breaks, and there's two ways of treating them. You can give them medication, or you can talk them down. Usually if I can get the police out, I can generally talk to them and work most things out. What is your position on psychological diagnoses such as schizophrenia, things like that? Is there a way that those folks can work with that without medication? Or is there alternatives? Or is it pretty cut and dry?
All those conditions appearing in the DSM manual are different names of Bhagavan. They are all Ishvara. Schizophrenia is another name for Ishvara. Narcissistic personality disorder, another name for Ishvara. Bipolar disorder, another name for Ishvara. Depression, Ishvara. Anxiety, Ishvara. Manic, depressive, anything, whatever you say. It's all different names of Bhagavan. So in looking at it like this, we see that this is not outside Bhagavan. When we look at the manual, then we see what we are looking at is patterns. Patterns are Bhagavan. Pattern is Brahman, definitely. When you see a pattern, it is predictable. You can make some laws, and so it is no longer my schizophrenia. You see, it no longer belongs to me because it's a pattern. Given this kind of, whether it is, because of some problem in socialization, or whether it is some kind of a chemical issue, chemical imbalance, it's still Ishvara. It's a pattern. Given this kind of an imbalance, these kinds of symptoms are there. Therefore, it is Ishvara. So when you look at it that way, then there is, then it becomes sound. And if the person, it all depends on the person. If the person is able to go there, you can show them that it is not just their mind. It is a universal order. That given these conditions, this is a possibility. So therefore, we don't even call it a disorder. It is part of the order. And whether the person can heal without medications or not depends on the person. Some things require medication. Medication also is Ishvara. It's not outside of Ishvara. The scientist who discovered something that helps in certain, to stabilize the situation, that is also an iteration of Ishvara, that intelligence is Ishvara. The material with which the pill is made is Ishvara. Everything is there. So this way, if that is clear to you, and the more that becomes clear to you, the better help you can be for people regardless of where they might be.
Thank you.
Okay, so one more question about chemicals in the body. There's such a thing. I'm in the field, and I do believe this, that there is I don't call them diagnoses, but anyway, there's lots of patterns. One of them is labeled attention deficit disorder. Okay. So this is going to come around. My question really has to do with practice, because when you have attention deficit, I have it. It can be mild or moderate or severe. But what happens is, if you're interested in something, you could do it for 10 hours straight. In other words, if you're interested in computer games and you have ADD, you could play the computer game for 10 hours straight. But if you're not interested in it, whatever it is, it's like pulling teeth. And that's why, a lot of times I'll give medications to students, because their room is a mess and they're failing their classes and they can't focus, and they take the medication and everything they can do, So, but anyway, so I'm wondering if so I find that in my practice that I get bored easily, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but I get bored easily, and I'm wondering if but I want to feel passionate about it. I want it to be, in the end, I know everything goes slowly, but in the end, I'd like it to be something that I just want to do. You know what I mean? And if I just want to do it, I will do it without any resistance. So I'm wondering if you could comment on that.
What is the question?
Well, the question is, how do you, in your practice, become so passionate in what you're doing that there's no resistance?
That's a good question. It grows. It's like everything, it is cultivated. The desire is there, but that desire is sometimes the desire to be free, the desire to study, and the desire to take this path seriously, there are certain blocks. So there could be certain blocks on the way. There could be non-receptivity. There could be hurt. There could be blocks. There could be fears, resistance, so many things. So first we work on removing or neutralizing those blocks through prayer, through conscious effort, and through the through making judicious choices. You see, like even choosing a person from whom you are going to study is very important. Very, very important. That's why the gurus come in all sizes and shapes, and then it's wonderful. So, like for example, if somebody has a lot of, let us say, hypothetically, a lot of mother issues, to study from a female teacher might pose some problems. And similarly, vice versa, if there are father issues, and then connecting to a male teacher might be in a male body might be difficult, might pose some problems. That's why we see in the Upanishads that even teachers come even in the form of half animals and half human beings. Hayagriva. So half horse and half human. And then the descendants or the lineage, students in the lineage of Hayagriva can say, we got it from the horse's mouth. Yeah. So, so like this, we have all kinds of, and in the Chandogya Upanishad, we see a young lad, Satyakama, who is searching for a teacher badly, finds the teacher, and the teacher gives him one cow, and then he says, I will teach you after you make this into 500 cows. And he says, I'm a small boy. How am I going to make one cow into 500 cows? How long is that going to take? At least, is she pregnant? No. Okay, so then everything I have to do from scratch and make this into 500 cows from one cow. And he's very dejected because he wants to study Vedanta. The guru just goes away from there. And then he hears a meow and he thinks it's a cat, but it's a lion in distress. A lion with a thorn in the paw. And the lion says, come and remove the thorn. You want to study about Brahman? I'll teach you a little bit about Brahman. I'll teach you about Brahman. And the boy is very brave. And then he goes and removes the thorn. And the lion teaches him something about Brahman. We find this. We find these kinds of stories in the Upanishad. And if you read the life story of Dattatreya, this maybe here we have, is that the one standing under Swami Sivananda ji? That is Dattatreya. And so, who is seen to be a manifestation of God in the form of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all three in one. And then there is a life story, and where he has 24 teachers. The tree is his teacher, the ocean is his teacher, so, and he recounts all of that. He meets a dog and that becomes his teacher. So like this is very important in making certain judicious choices about how to study and who to study with, because this is really important. Because then one is open, one has the ability to somehow be guided to let go of the blocks, etc. So that is a very, then the passion grows. It is something, even if you take a weak desire for knowledge in the hands of the right teacher, it can become a conflagration. That's how one progresses. And in small increments, if there is difficulty paying attention, know the limits. How long can you pay attention, and sit for only that long? Whether it's meditation, whether it is class, whatever it is. Sit for short periods of time. Then slowly, as you develop the desire and pray for this desire to be cultivated, and then as you develop the desire, then it grows on you.
Is there is there a distinction between a guru and a teacher? And do you need a guru if you find, like Dattatreya, that every human that you meet, every aspect of nature becomes your teacher and has so much to teach you?
The word guru comes from two syllables, gu and ru. Gu means ignorance. Ru means the one who removes ignorance. That is what is guru. I use it interchangeably with teacher because in English we say guru means teacher. So, but here in Sanskrit, the word guru has a specific meaning. The teacher of Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of yourself as Brahman, is known as guru. And do you need a teacher? The Upanishad would say absolutely yes. So how did Dattatreya get away with it? Because he is avatara of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. There are exceptions, you see. The exceptions do not violate the rule. They in fact make the rule stronger because there are exceptions. So a teacher is needed because if you read this, you come in your own way. Your own infrastructure comes in the way of understanding this. So in fact, the Upanishads will say, without teacher, there is no possibility of this knowledge. And so, yes, the presence of the teacher in the life makes one grow to appreciate the whole of life as a teacher. So that is how I would say.
I ask because I have a friend who distinguishes between guru and teacher and says that you must dedicate your life to one guru. And I personally find a bit of an issue with that because I find that human beings are fallible and that any one guru, how can one guru teach me everything there is about life?
Yeah, that is a very wonderful question. The job of the guru is not to teach you everything about life. You have been blessed with a wonderful intelligence to discover everything about life. The guru's job is to remove ignorance connected to this I. The I that is mistaken to be the body, mind, sense complex, mistaken to be the agent of action, mistaken to be the experiencer of sorrows. That is the job. That's the only job. It's not the job of the guru to, that's the difference between guru and life coach. So life coach perhaps can hold your hand and, save, this is what people, the celebrities have life coaches, and then to be freed of wardrobe malfunction and things like that. Yeah, so, but here, you have all the ability to lead your life. The guru is not here to tell you how to lead your life. You are able to lead your life wonderfully. You've managed so far. And you will continue to progress gloriously. You have reasoning, you have impulses, you have the ability to either go along with those impulses or check them. You have desires and you have ambitions, you have goals. These are all wonderful. The job and the single job of the guru is to remove the ignorance centered on the I. And for that you do need a teacher, guru, whatever it is. Without that, it is not possible.
Thank you.
One more thing, one more part of your question, how Guru is fallible. Yes, definitely. And everybody is fallible. But we are not interested in the fallibility of the Guru here. And we are, because the surrender is not to the individual. The surrender is to that which is the medium for me to get rid of my ignorance. So the surrender in essence is to the Guru Tattva, the Guru principle rather than an individual here. That's why we choose, the Upanishads ask us to choose a teacher from a sound lineage, a lineage that does not distort the message of the oneness of the Vedas. And the one who has himself or herself gone through this training that they are going to give you. That should be the teacher. And because, like I said earlier, if somebody says, I came to know about it all by myself, that's not a very trustworthy thing. Because here it is not centered on the individual. It's not centered on the Guru. Even though you need a Guru for the knowledge, it's purely it's an operational thing where the means of knowledge called the Veda is another pair of eyes for you to see yourself exactly how the Upanishad sees you, as glorious and limitless. So that those pair of eyes, they are translated by the Guru into a mirror so that you can look at yourself. That is what the Guru is. So you're not surrendering to a person. You're surrendering to the principle to be taught. That is of how this teaching takes place. And then that's why the lineage is important. Sampradaya, lineage. Because otherwise it becomes a cult. You see? And this is not a cult. And finally, one more thing I will say. The last thing I will say is that the Guru is one who does not require your surrender. That is the fitting altar of surrender, which does not require you to surrender. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I just want to add, not a question. So first of all, Guru is a guide. Guru knows, let's say if I want to go to Mount Everest, I just don't start going there on my own. I need a Guru, I need a guide. But this is the thing, it really is a lot of grace of Ishvara to find the right Guru, because many people fall into the clutches of so-called gurus and get misguided. And I feel I'm truly blessed to have found Puja Swamiji and the Swamis and Swaminis under that lineage. And that's all I want to say is it takes a lot of, it's Ishvara's grace that we find the right Guru.
Yeah. That is what I was saying. You have to make judicious choices about who you're going to study with. And because sometimes the heart is given to a Guru who has decided never to speak. They may know, but they don't teach, or they are quiet. They don't want to communicate. They want to lead a quiet life. So then that is what it is. Sometimes those choices are decided by one's life experiences, sometimes traumatic life experiences. One lady told me that, I have been studying with this Guru. I said, what have you been studying? I don't know, nothing, because the lady doesn't talk. So I said, okay. And then why did you choose her? And then this lady told me, I chose her because I come from a family of 11 siblings. and they're all fighting all the time. And we grew up in a cacophonic, environment. Everybody screaming, yelling, and I just wanted quiet. And when I saw some Mataji, so this mother sitting very quietly, I was immediately attracted to her. And so you see, that's wonderful. But then, that's nice. If you want to experience the quiet, wonderful. If you want to study, minimum, you have to choose a guru who talks. Things like that. This is just an example. Yeah. Why not? Have as many. Go for it. Have lots of them.
Can you speak a minute about sacrifice, what the quality of that is, and how it's processed toward growth, personal growth?
You said it already.
Did I?
Yeah, you already said it.
It's good enough for me.
Sacrifice, meaning sacrifice, is a big word, and people are sensitive about that word generally, because one is told to sacrifice, especially women are told to sacrifice all the time. Sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. And so it's more in the sense of giving up. We think of the word sacrifice as giving up a little bit of comfort, giving up a little bit of happiness, something, so that somebody else can benefit. That engenders a lot of growth in two ways. One is you understand you can be without that thing. Isn't that wonderful? You thought that you could not live without this particular thing, but then you gave it away, and then you find that you're fine. So there is great growth there. And there is also growth because you are in a position of being a giver. And that is a very powerful and wonderful position, to be able to grow into giving. So in that sense, it helps one to grow. Anything else?
Thank you.
Are we ready to close? Yeah? Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
So we want to thank Swamini Ji. Let's give her a big hand. And she will continue tonight, so see you there. And also there is the yoga class and dinner, the Gita Parayana. So enjoy all the benefits of the ashram.